Hello, everyone. So we're here for our first Tuesday monthly little get together. So what I'd like to do is, if you're watching live, go ahead and in the comments, let me know where you're watching from. Some of y'all are watching from where we're located at in San Antonio, Texas. So it's always great to know when our local customers are also getting to watch some of these. Today, we're going to go over some things to kind of incentivize those print sales that you guys have. I mean, we're a printer, so we want to see you guys succeed because the more you succeed, the more prints you kind of put in for order, right? So I've actually been doing this quite a long time before I even came to Finer Works. I've been with Finer Works now 6.5 years. I came in just to put a print order, and then I saw a production job and thought it would be a 6 month gig, and I'd learned to stretch canvas. And like I said, lo and behold, 6.5 years later, I'm still here with Finer Works. I'm really involved in our local art community here in San Antonio. I've been working for my favorite artist for the last 13 years as his assistant, which is how I came to find Finer Works. He had me probably research so many print companies before we made the selection to go ahead and try Finer Works and put in an order. And we have our own online shop too at choicegoodsbrand.com, and people are able to buy fine art prints there. So, working with this artist, I've actually probably followed him back in '94 when I was about 18 years old or so. And I loved watching him work, and I never would speak to him. I was always intimidated by him. Probably about 13, 14 years ago, I kind of ran into him and asked why he hadn't had his stuff on social media. And I became his assistant. And like I said, I told him, about prints I had. And I think he kind of cringed a bit because he knew they were from the 90s. And stuff in the 90s that artists were selling were Kinko copies. Go to Kinko, get a laser print copy of your art, and people would put some cardboard in, throw some plastic on it, and sell it. Um, I think as he progressed in his career, he really got into seeing that, hey, I need something out there representing myself that is a little more show worthy, and at least almost to the caliber that I am as an artist, as opposed to a a quick Xerox print. And I think a lot of you have looked at that too in your own prints, like, where do I start? How do I can't spend that much money. We're going to talk about all of these little things that are kind of a little bit of obstacles, but we're going to go in and how you can make those prints valuable. Um, and I mean, that's, like I said, that's how I became his assistant. I am an art junkie nerd. I buy prints, canvases. I'm lucky to own a few originals. Right now in my life, I'm happy about that. Owning an original is awesome, but price point is not always there. Sometimes I really want to support an artist. I maybe just don't have the funds at the time, but I'm proud of the stuff that I own as a print now. And I'll go into a little bit um, about how I got into learning in the print so that this can kind of translate for something you guys can use. So I left San Antonio briefly and lived in Austin for about 2 years and worked at Art on Fifth, which used to be located on Fifth Street in Austin, and then relocated to South Lamar when I had was with them. And we have a great art gallery there, and our director is amazing, Todd Gressley, who really taught me a lot about selling prints. Also, not only the originals that we had up there, but the prints. And one thing he had me learn really quickly was never to call the prints reproductions. It's just a vocabulary word that's going to, it's going to either, take it down from its elevation of what you're doing. So never use the word reproduction. Use fine art print, because that's what it is. And we're going to tell you that these are the things you're going to have in your toolbox to say, this is why my prints are just, they are elevated as I am in my career and in my skill set. Once again, for those of y'all just joining, go ahead in the comments section, put where you're watching from. We just want to see who's out there, who's working here, watching locally. let us know. And this will also get me used to kind of looking at your screen names so I can kind of call you out for some questions if y'all have any. We're also going to look at a few things going on here at Finer Works, some things that we have new that you can use, because diversifying your art is something we've talked a lot about on a lot of these live things, is diversifying your art. And that means having your art on different products that offer a lot of different price points for your collectors and potential collectors. Like I said, when I was younger collecting Robert Tatum's work, I really, as a student, didn't have much money. I was a student, a single mom. So spending, even $20 was a lot for me going out back then in 1994. So, but let me tell you something, I still treasure those. And some of those are in really expensive frame now because I kind of even value the uniqueness on it, and I'm trying to preserve them as best as I can. And if you've worked with a laser print, you know that that's kind of hard. So we're going to look at that. I'm going to pull up my presentation here, but let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's put that in. Okay, we're going to take a look over at Finer Works 2. I want to show y'all some stuff in a second that's going to show you that we have other things to diversify your art. I don't know if y'all have now seen the new canvas bags we have on there. Let's see, we have Jean, and now we have Elizabeth, and she is watching. Thank you so much. Okay, we have Austin. I'm just going to put that back up. Jean was watching from Austin, Texas. They're right up the road, Jean. Got Marilyn from Ohio. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. And again, y'all can use these chat features to ask your questions as I'm going through the presentation, okay? And I'm kind of solo flying it tonight. James is not able to be on our evening cast right now, but let me go into Finer Works. One of the new items that we have in Finer Works, if y'all haven't had the chance to look under gifts and keepsakes, these personalized bags. They're canvas, high quality materials that we're using. And you can go ahead now and, again, diversify your art, right? It's kind of like branding your art as well. And it's like the mugs, for instance. Mugs are great, but they're better as when you're there selling them. They're not a great drop shipping product because of how much you would have to mark it up to really make a decent amount on it. If you're using it as a drop ship, you're probably making a couple cents on it. It's always best to buy that as a bulk item and sell them at a pop-up or something where you're going to be doing that. But then the downside, storing them. But a lot of people that I've helped, lay out mugs for that are artists here in our local community, I'm always like, put your name somewhere, brand it, and use a 15-ounce mug, because people like those big size mugs and they use them more often. And they're just seeing your image, they're seeing your name, and they're building your brand. They're identifying your style, who you are as an artist. It's getting branded into them. Kind of those sneaky little clever ways of doing that. But let's go look at some of these things here that I want to talk about tonight. Okay, so one is going to be, the first thing you're going to do is the quality of your prints. As I was mentioning before, I would see artists that would use the laser print copy back in 92, 93, 94, and those were the prints I was buying. I want to say I maybe only have 2 or 3 that are surviving. The ink is faded. They've kind of gotten a little more tattered. The paper has yellowed on them. It's not a great media. It didn't survive even the artist's lifetime, right? Where something like Finer Works, as I mentioned, I came over here to them 6.5 years ago to put in an order for the artist I work for. I was that impressed with them that I wanted to get a production job here and start working with them. And learning all of these things about prints. I mean, this went far more than I had kind of learned. I had taken prints at Art on Fifth, as I was mentioning earlier, in Austin, and we would have artists that would drop off prints, or they would ask if we would sell prints. And I literally started watching Todd's, I would listen to him talk to the artist about quality images and the prints that were coming out, especially canvas. We would say these are a giclée print on canvas. Again, always avoiding that word reproduction. So when I started looking at that, and he would point out things about, look, feel this canvas. You're going to feel how thin it is. It's kind of like a plastic. Um, we're here in Texas. The plastic canvas, let me tell you, when you have customers that are going to put that in their trunk and drive around in 113 plus degrees heat, sometimes you'll find that the corners on those canvases that are made of like a plastic base start to wither in there, or just from rubbing in just one car ride, and the corners sometimes will melt, and you can see the exposed stretch bar underneath. And then you have an angry customer that comes back. So learning to tell other artists, like, we're glad you were able to get these for, the 16 by 20 for like $10, and you want to sell it for $800, but the quality is not there. And we would have to reject those. It's just something, we didn't want to pass that on to our collector base or anger our collector base. So having quality prints and quality media is one of the first things that you want to do in your research. Digital file capture is another. And this is a total different learning set sometimes. So, we don't want people to ever feel discouraged going into these, because it's just like you learning art. You didn't take off and start, where you are now at the beginning. It took some time. It took some practice. It took I know for me, I started with copying comic books as a kid. And I look at those, and it's like sometimes you kind of want to cringe a little bit on where you started at. But it's the skills take time to develop, and so does capturing quality digital files of your art, because it just depends. There are some people who can do a single photo frame off of an SLR camera, like a Nikon or something like that. They're going to shoot it all in one frame, because maybe they're not going to go bigger than 30 by 40, right? But then there are some people who want, like, for instance, in my home here, I have a 5 foot by 4 foot from a scan of a 2 by 3 inch photo of my granddad. It took me a little time to pick, what I was going to do with that, because I had to scan it at a 1200 DPI, and then I magnified it to get it to where I could do that photo. And then I had to get a media that was more forgiving, because there was not going to be that same crisp perfection, because it isn't in the original first generation of print of that. So learning all of those details will take some time. So you are either going to pay for that, or you're going to learn it yourself on how to capture your prints, so that way they look good. That's taking time. Also learning a photo editing software like Photoshop, and learning how to proof your images, like when you get them in there and viewing them at 100%, so you can see what they're going to look at. To set your thing at 300 DPI. Those are little tips I have picked up with finer works, because I would try and say, well, I want this image, but I printed it and it looks fuzzy, or it looks pixelated. I have learned a lot about learning about that file quality. Some things I've had to call back in. And as an artist, let me tell you, this is a great thing. Let's say you have art that was documented in the 90s, and it was maybe off of a 35 millimeter, maybe slide, and you're making your prints in there, but they're not as sharp as you would like. They don't show all those maybe intricate details. Sometimes having a conversation with your collector and calling them up out of the blue and saying, what do you call it? That's a good question, Elizabeth. I'll hit right onto it. Is there a way I'd like to borrow the canvas back and get it photographed for documentation? I'm going to do a print series on it. And, you give them like a nice print. You tell them, I'll give you the AP for letting me borrow it back, and it'll come back to you after being photographed. It also, those people, maybe they haven't bought for you in years. And then, hey, all of a sudden they're re-exposed to you. It's a great time to do that. Elizabeth has a good question here. Is there a print profile that you should apply to your digital files? Yeah, and I've gotten I won't even show you what my files must look like, because it's like uh, probably like graphic designers where you say, first draft, second draft, third draft, 28th draft, um, some of my things is going to depend on the media. If you go into, I'm going to show you right here to Finer Works, and let's go look at the fine art paper on here, right? And as you go down here, you're going to see we have ICC profiles for each one of those. I'm still new at ICC profile. I don't even think my color matching expertise has gotten it's nowhere near what James has. James is amazing at getting color matching, and he has all of our printers that we kick out stuff on, as far as the fine art paper and canvas media. They go through a calibration process, every so often. They have to either some new tech comes out or a new, I want to say, update for the printers. And I mean the printers, like the physical printing, like Canons that are kicking out stuff. So those have to get updated. That's why even if you haven't printed something in a while, sometimes still do a test print just to make sure an update hasn't come out that has maybe changed that. The ICC profile, once you pick your media, is a good way to look at it. And what it does is it kind of lets you see the nature sort of the paper, how your white points are going to kind of look on there. And like maybe your orange to that yellow, especially if you have a gradient look of color going through it, and you want those to, that's like the best way to switch. It's like it's a preview kind of on your Photoshop, and you can see it. And I'm learning that better, but that's not even all you have to do. You have to calibrate your monitor. If you go to Finer Works, they do have a sample pack on here under all products down here at the bottom, and that starter pack has this color calibration card into it. Let me see if I can zoom that in for you guys. It has that thing, and it's kind of like a very economical way to go ahead and calibrate your screen to our printers. What I have a hardest time on, personally, is that my screen likes to readjust its lighting for the room. Oh, I'm glad that helps you there, Elizabeth. Like I said, and ask these questions as we're going along, guys. You're using the Tishan paper. Oh, that's great. I'll apply that to the profile. Yeah, it's kind of a preview mode. That's basically what it is. When you send the file, an ICC profile going with it, you don't need that. You're just going to send us the image. But the ICC profile lets you try to get those colors just to where you want. And I work with some artists that are, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I can't imagine the frustration with it. And I still say, once you do that, do a test print, because sometimes it's still tweaking. Like I'm telling you, those monitors have to be your monitor has to be calibrated to the thing, and it's not an easy thing to do. I'm lucky, I don't know if it's AI. I wish I had James here for this part. If it's AI or in the printing that helps with all of those to get those colors. A lot of the times I don't have to mess with color if I capture a scan as a TIFF. I find I get more true colors that way. And then I don't know what the translation is when I go open up a board. When I get ready to print, I say, okay, I want a 30 by 40 at 300 DPI. It's a blank board. Then I go to the image I captured, let's say a TIFF, and I will copy the whole board, and I bring it over and I paste it into the blank 30 by 40, 300 DPI board I made. And I will place it in there. Now, if I have captured right at a high enough resolution, I should not have to scale up. I should, if anything, scale down. That lets me know I got a really good capture for this size that I want to get printed. And once I do a print, even on something like that, 30 by 40, there's two ways to look at it. You can make your own test print, order a 30 by 40 and sell it as an artist proof. You would just sign it and then A/P. And that has value, being the one off, even if the colors are different. It's something that makes it very valuable. There's a lot of Andy Warhol Sunday morning series that are sold because they are the kind of the rejected art pieces or screen prints. He didn't like them for some other reason or another, but because they're one-offs, it makes them very valuable. There's a lot of different things that can add value to your prints, but getting all of those little techniques down first off, again, as we were mentioning, getting the media, and with a lot of the media here with fine works, anything that you see under the canvas, under fine art papers, those are going to be archival. And that's why they'll have ICC profiles a lot of the time. Now, cards and all of our, I want to call them our keepsakes that we have on here. Let's take a look at right here. All the gift products, these are done with dye sub. Okay, so that's different. The way cards are printed, greeting cards, those are a different print process. You will notice that greeting cards will not have the same, they won't have an ICC profile for them, because these ones have more variation in their printing. So note that. But like I said, it doesn't have to be, I think of them more as promotional items that I don't have to pay on, and I can maybe make $1 or $2 on them, having them out at stuff. Um, that's kind of where I with keepsakes, when we sell them in our shop, we don't mark them up. Let's say a mug is $10, and normally with prints and things, we say like, oh, you want to mark up about 2.5 times. Well, nobody's going to buy a mug, simply the mug by itself, for $25. So I'll maybe do them at $20 and leave it there. Or if I'm, like I said, again, I just need to get these out. I might, if I bought them in bulk and got a pretty good deal on it. If, like I said, and if you go into our things, we do have all of our pricing on here. This kind of is my first thing I do with artists that are going to be showing at our gallery, and I help them get set up here to see what we can do. You'll see you can get bulk prices and details. So if I order 10 of these, they're at $8.96 each. So if I sell them for $10, that way, then I can say, okay, I'm only going to make a couple bucks on it. That'll cover maybe the tax and the processing fee that I have to do as a retailer. That's how I would do with those products. I really like them for my in purchase or point of sale kind of places that I would do those on. Whereas a one-off, like I said, you see the price for one is going to be $9.95. Those are the smaller ones there. But checking the prices on those medias and stuff like that, I just kind of think of these more as my promotional things. And color matching for that reason is not going to be, I'm not going to drive myself insane for this. Okay. But the prints I may drive myself insane for. I try to get them very close to matching. And seeing what I can, I want them to look close. And if they're not going to look close, maybe sometimes, for instance, we have Caldrick Doe, who is one of our co-workers here at Fine & Works, but he's also an artist. And I've gotten to work with him in different capacities. I've gotten to work with him as a co-worker here at Fine & Works. I've worked with him as an interviewee on here. And now I've gotten to work with him as representing him as an artist at our gallery. And our gallery focuses on print sales. San Antonio is a weird art market. People do not know how to buy original art here. It's very select few, I want to say, here that would know what the value of original art is. But print sales do really well down here because community feel, people like to support. You just have to have the price points for them. So let me pop back over here. And to that, I'm going to show y'all some images. So let's take a look at Caldrick's. I think this was it right here. Pull that up. So this is at HotBox. I'm waiting for that to pop up there. Okay. At HotBox, you can see here, he offered actually 4 sizes. This half one that you're seeing here in the center is actually a canvas print 30 by 40. And then he offered 8 by 10s, 11 by 14, and 16 by 20 with a mat around it, and sleeved all of them, right? So they have this backing in their the ones that are with the mat and stuff, they're kind of already sealed up with a foam core in the back. Uh, the prints that are 8 by 10 and 11 by 14, they have I believe it's just cardboard backing behind them, but it's to keep that print to start flattening out, and so that it doesn't get damaged on its edges. So that's why it's a little bit bigger. I believe he also has transparent corners holding those. Let me see if I can increase that enough for you to take a look. And that's what's holding it to the cardboard. So it's a nice little look on there. We also used, here you're seeing 3 different media. This one, I believe up here is this canvas Silverado with black side colors right here to it. And then we have on here, I believe he used chamomile photo rag, and on this one, chamomile photo rag metallic. And what we noticed was the way the gold of the fabric, because it's from fabric series that he has of the boy, it kind of gave this really awesome shimmer, and it kind of enhanced that gradient of the light that was the way it was shot. Uh, it just makes it just as special as the original. And we're able to put, like I said, these price points. So I believe his originals were going at 3,000, which would be these ones here on the side. The original collage pieces, also 30 by 40. And then we had the canvas prints there at $900. And we also looked at his geo galleries so that the geo galleries wouldn't be offering his prints at a lower price than the gallery is selling them. Now, granted, we're going to make more money when he sells off of his geo galleries than we do maybe with a gallery that's showing his art, because there's a percentage the galleries will take. In San Antonio, about 30 to 40%. Going to other markets, though, like Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, I'm going to guess y'all are giving 60% to the galleries there. But those are just, it gave a great price point. I think these right here, the 8 by 10s, I think we did them at maybe $35. And then the 11 by 14s at $75. And the 16 by 20s matted went for $220. And people loved those. Opening night, loved his 16 by 20s. And there were so many people who wanted to support, and then there's people who came in, and that $35 was like, okay, that's not gonna kill them. They're not gonna have to take after payout for it. So it was something they could buy right there and show support for him, because in our community he's been featured a lot on many different news channels. So it's right now he's kind of hot in San Antonio. So people just wanted a piece or something to support what he's all about, that representation of African Americans in San Antonio. So it was great to see that support here. And again, providing that scale of price points for the prints to the originals, it just gave a little bit for everybody. And that's something you want to be able to do. But they're so special because, like I said, people will take this. And we did have some of his fabric series up there, and they were looking at it and they're like, it looks different, but it looks very high end. And that was something great to hear from people coming to view his work, and it was appreciated. Let me go ahead and get back over here. Now, get back here just to make sure. The other thing, like I said, we're talking here, covered that we want to go into the quality of the prints, the digital file capture, you proofing those files before they go into prints for your orders, and the media you select. Know why your prints are special by knowing your media. So back here, and I'm using FinerWorks just because I know how to drive this site better. If I go into Fine Art Papers, and let's, like I said, Caldric happened to have the chamomile photo rag metallic, which I love. Chamomile, and I'm sure there's a more authentic German way to say chamomile. This is just how I say it from Texas. Our photo rag metallic is a silvery, shimmery, fine art giclée and photo paper, with a specifically formulated coating. The natural white cotton paper contains no optical brighteners and has the characteristic photo rag surface structure. So if you felt a photo rag, which we do offer, Hamameel's photo rag, it is a nice textured kind of feel to it. Um, but like I said, that shimmery thing in the metallic one is just beautiful. But you can always copy the verbiage off of finer works to go use on your stuff to say this is why the media is so special. Also, all of our media is archival. We're using archival inks, and that you'll find up here. Archival inks, fade resistant pigmented inks, which provide a superior color range compared to other types of inks, widely preferred in the fine art and photography circles. So here's something about us that you could kind of say, um, and learn why you picked it, because it is. I always ask, why did you pick that paper? Like, and that's because I've been collecting prints too for a while. Uh, I want to know about it. Uh, Sometimes there are artists that are like, they use one one of the medias that we offer. Now, you need to be a paper snob for this one. It's great, but think about the people who are getting your prints, right? William Turner. I love this stuff. It's awesome. Its nature is to look distressed. So you're going to see flaking off of the paper. It gets these little white speckles into it. That's part of that paper. Now, that one and our velvet, um, our the velvet is very delicate too. So if you're going to have people who are going to yank these out of a tube, or just even with you wrapping them and rolling them, like sometimes we get people who order two, so they're on there and they slide them out kind of harshly and they create a streak. That I tell people, you want somebody who knows if you're going to sell those. I would sell those maybe limited edition, and for me, I would do them framed, already ready to hang, because a lot of the everyday person is not going to know how to handle that paper. They're very delicate. Those are the only times I'm like, okay, white gloves. I'm good with white gloves on those ones, because even I'm a little nervous when I have to handle them, especially if it has something like a solid black background. Um, those ones are going to be a little more nerve wracking. But knowing that stuff about your media and why you selected it, it gives a value to it. And it's something that you can convey to people when they're at your booth or at your pop up. And you want to tell them, hey, these are printed on this XYZ paper. And I chose it because, it's going to last generations. The great thing about, like with Caldrick's work, looking at the papers and stuff, I was telling him, I think your prints are going to last longer because they're not going to need that upkeep. Where using collage, when you're using all of these different papers, they may want to yellow. They may want to curl in from the chemicals that's already adhering to it. So after so many years, on certain original art pieces, sometimes you need to have them touched up, or cleaned up. Uh, the prints, however, you're probably going to be there 3 generations before you see any kind of like fading, unless you're like you have the magnifier and you're sticking it right onto the canvas in an extreme situation. But hanging in a hallway, those prints they're gonna last a good while. So they're a generational gift almost. I know my daughter already puts claims on some of the art prints that I have, because she knows they're gonna last that long. So that is something about knowing why they're special, why the media is special, and why you chose it. People are also like, what do I print? I don't know. For emerging artists that are coming out and they're like, I don't know what to print. I haven't sold anything. Do I even want to make prints yet? I usually, for me, I favor uh, prints of originals that have already gone and sold and they're in private collection. I'm never going to get to see them unless I know that owner. Um, that's what I tend to like to buy a lot of. But then, there are younger artists out there, uh, and I look at their work and they'll do stuff on oils. I know several fantasy art kind of artists that do these oils, and I mean, they're beautiful. The layering, everything in it, it just kind of takes your breath away. And I'm like, I know how many hours they put into that, and the skill level is great. And people they're just like, I have these out, and I'm thinking $500, and I'm like, well, that would give you like 30 cents an hour. And even if you did it with the formula of the square inch, you're not getting much. In those cases, I would tell some artists, hang on to them, hang on to your originals, make prints that start to get the image kind of popular, to where you can say, I've been keeping, like, in the vault here, the originals. I haven't wanted to put them for sale yet, but till there was an appreciation for the art. The original is available for sale, and you sell it at what it's worth, because there's a lot of hours, there's a lot of skill set in there. And I really don't think artists should have to sell something for, like, get whittled down to $100 for something that is, you know it has a lot of value. Sometimes you can let your prints go, and when they want to tell you that they want to give you $125 for that, and they're like, well, I can make you maybe a 16 by 20 for that print. It'll be a canvas print, and I'll sign it. And you kind of work out what works for you there. But that is one way to kind of get people noticing it. It's like the Mona Lisa. Not many of us in our lifetime will get to go see that thing with our own eyes. Yet we have seen the Mona Lisa on so many different images of, like, bags, shirts, purses, prints, posters, that you're familiar with it, right? So making your art almost into an icon, um, that people are going to want to pay for, because there's people who want that elite status, that I own the original. It's like people who collect cell art, which is like if you watch animation from Disney and it's the clear thing here, and they have the character drawn onto it. Those cell images sell for quite a bit now. Um, so kind of you're using your prints to elevate, you know, your original. So if you're not getting what you want right now for your original art, maybe hold on to the original art and make prints of it. If that is the case, if you're selling well your original art, then maybe wait and release a print after the original has sold. Um, I just find that, again, makes it special to the person who owns it. Um, what's a print? Okay, the other thing we get questions on is usually the sizes. What sizes do I offer? I'm going to say, for emerging artists out there, go with it. Go, like I said, go to Walmart, whatever. Go look at the frame sizes. They're usually for that 4 or 5 aspect ratio. So that'll be the 8 by 10s. 11 by 14 is its own aspect ratio, but it's close enough to that 4 or 5 that you will not get much cropping. So you can probably keep that there. 8 by 10, 11 by 14, and 16 by 20. Those are some good sizes there, because in people's heads, they know they can buy those frame size. Like, oh, I know I've seen that frame size at, like, Walmart. Like, I don't have to spend $1 million on a frame or $100 on a frame. There's some at Walmart. So if you can kind of stick with some of those sizes, uh, in buyers' minds, you're making it easy, because you want to try to get things ready to hang. That's pretty much a lot of what I've noticed at some of these places is people, like, well, they'll want to buy our displays because it's already in a frame. And I'm not kidding you. Sometimes they're just like the cheapest display frames I can go find for the shop. Like, literally, like, maybe at a Family Dollar or something. I just want to be able to prop it up so people can see it and it not get bent from being handled. And I'm like, it's $1. And I tell people, well, if I gotta sell it, I'm gonna add, and it's framed and ready to go, I'm gonna add another $40 to it because it's still my time to have to go do that, go get all of these, go get the frames, come in here, realign them, tape them up, get them all set up, and people pay for it gladly. And I mean, think about what the markup is on that when you're paying like $1 or $2 on a frame, and then having to sell it for $40. But I'm not saying it's devalue. It's my value of my time of having to go do that. And I tell them that you can go buy this frame, um, at a Walmart or, box kind of framer and get that done. Um, and that's why that one's going to cost, I really just, selling it because of the inconvenience to myself and my time to do that. If you want to pay for it, fine. That's what I'm willing to sell it for. Sell quite a bit of them like that, just because they're ready to go and able to be hung up as soon as the person gets it. Me, I would want a way better frame, and we'll get into that in a minute. Exceptions are maybe on the 4-5 aspect ratio is if you do art that is not a traditional aspect ratio. I say because maybe it's like a 12 by 36, right? So it's this long panoramic looking image. As long as you stay scaling so that nothing gets cropped, that's the only time I say go ahead and offer it there. And I would offer some of those in frames because you're not them having to spend the time to do custom framing. And if you've never worked at a custom frame shop, it takes forever to get people to decide what they want. So if it's ready to go, it's great. And I usually stick with white or black or natural wood, kind of contemporary looking frames for my displays. And people like that. So when I have something that's kind of an odd shape, sticking to that contemporary look on those frame colors, I'll have it. And a lot of the time it goes because those people cannot think, I'm going to have to spend all this time to frame this. So I rather just pay for it already ready to go. Let me see. Got some questions popping up. Hi, Melissa. What is the size of each edition of his print? Okay. And I went through that. So we were talking about the canvas prints on Caldrick's work were 30 by 40, 8 by 10, 11 by 14, and a 16 by 20. He did add on the 11 by 14 and 8 by 10 a ½ inch border, which makes his sheet size. The image itself is 8 by 10, but the size of the paper now would be 9 by 11 because it's a ½ inch around. So you're adding 1 inch to each side. So that was his thing on there because he wanted to be able to sign his name right there in a clean white bordered edge. That helps, and sometimes it's hard because then they can't necessarily stick that into a mat or an 8 by 10 frame. They'll have to get it custom framed. So for me, I would try to, the way I would do that, if I have to lay it out, I would have put it as a 7 by 9 image and put the ½ inch around, because then that will make an 8 by 10 print. The paper will be 8 by 10 now. So that's just something on the sizes. I meant the edition. Oh, how many editions? Those are an open edition he's doing. Caldrick's doing an open edition, and we'll talk about edition sizes in 1 second. Let me see. Jean is asking, what is color correction? Is it done for the image or for the inventory, meaning the image of? Okay, this is something in Final Works, and this is something to know. The color correction on there. Remember, a lot of our stuff is kind of automation. So what you're going to see on color correction is the same thing that you could do on Photoshop if you hit autocorrect. What it's doing is better for photography than it is for art. For this reason, photography has a true white point, right? There's people who have mixed their whites in art, and sometimes there's not a true white point. The colors are not going off of that white point. So color correction, when you're making your prints with Final Works, I suggest that for photos. You really should do all of your color checks prior to uploading the image. In virtual inventory on Final Works, it's actually not even an option you can put on there. I think you have to go ahead, you you're just not able to select it. So your virtual inventory, because it's going to come out different every time. There might be variation. So color correction like that is not really recommended unless you're doing like photography. There's some people with the white point that is good for. They can hit it, but I really highly recommend, and customer service will recommend it too. Is that you just kind of use the color correction if you're doing photography. And let me see here. Okay. So let's keep on trucking along here. Just taking that time. Let me pull it up here. All right. So like I said, that's what we were talking about on the odd sizes. If you paint big, then shoot for big to have some large sizes. Finer works can print most canvases about 40 to 60 inches. So uh, that is about 12,000 by 18,000 pixels if you just went on there. Now, that's at 300 DPI. You can come a little like at a, I want to say like a 40 by 60 at 175 DPI. What I have learned is there is AI in printing software that kind of fills the dots. So it's, making these estimations and putting the color in the dots to spread it out to make the image still seem very crisp. I usually will go about, like I said, I do mine all at 300 DPI. I'm comfortable going about 6 inches bigger than my size. So if I have a 30 by 40, I could do 36 by 46 and say, oh, okay, I'm comfortable. I'm not going to see visually any kind of distortion. It's going to look good. So I don't usually worry about it at that point. But again, these are just things you're going to learn as you go on. And technology changes. I hate to say it. It's like as soon as you learn all of this, something new and great will come along, and we'll have to learn that as well too. But when you have a base knowledge of it, it gets easier to kind of translate this new technology to what you're already doing, and to see if it's even worth it. Sometimes you can just keep going by what you know. What media do I select? We get this question so often. And it's like trying to tell somebody, I want you to tell me what my favorite flavor of cake or ice cream is going to be. It's such a personal preference. Um, I really suggest that you go ahead and get our sample kit so you can feel all of the medias first. That's the first thing you should do there. Um, and then you got to think, do you want to sell these as closest to the original possible? Um, I'm going to show you some stuff from Art on Fifth, and again, why prints are so important. The Do you want these to be close to the original? Maybe you did this as canvas work, or maybe you did these as watercolors. Watercolors, to me, they translate only so big. It's like the eye knows it's watercolor, and it's most people are so used to seeing watercolors on a smaller format that they make a nice small print. And we have several papers that offer that watercolor kind of paper feel to it. That again, people say, "Oh, is this the original?" They really do think they're getting the original with watercolor work. Um, but I would again, you got to say, do I want it to be as close to the original, or do I want something maybe that makes it totally different from what the original was? Like we showed you with Caldrick's piece on the boy, that it's on the Hammermill Photorag Metallic, which offers a shimmer that you did not get in his original piece because it was acrylic on fabric. It has no sheen to it. That silver else kind of paper look to it gives a gold, this metallic kind of uh, feel that it's beautiful. Like I said, I wish I could capture it on camera so that you guys could see really how well that looks. We'll show you some of this as we get over here. Let me show you Caldrick's a close up of that. Where do I have it here? Okay, so if I go this way, I think, so that's a little closer up view of the paper. of the chamomile photo rag. Again, it has that shimmer to it. You'll notice the browns look more like coppers. Um, that's just something that's, in the beauty of it, where the original piece is on a white canvas. So, like I said, I feel like I got something different. I feel like I got something special. I have really liked Caldrick's work on that chamomile photo rag metallic. Um, and then there's Prince that I told him, I can't wait to see when he has, the Madonna and Child on that. He tried that on just a regular chamomile photo rag. Um, but I think the shimmer would work really great because he has so many reflective surfaces in that piece. Let me pop back out of here. Okay. So that's something you want to decide. Like if you want to have it close to the original, something completely different from the original. Do you have, like, as we were talking about earlier, the collectors that know how to handle the paper types? The velvet papers are going to say, people say, oh, there's a scratch in it. What has happened is actually the ink has not left the paper. The paper fibers have now gotten bent into the opposite direction from where they were sprayed on with the ink. So that's how come, you'll see those and they're not sometimes so easy to fix. Uh, that's why we tell people, you might want to think about who your customers are. Are they going to treat these with care? Do they need them framed up? Do you need the paper base? Do you need that to be very bright white? Do you want a cream color to it, or that, like the chamomile photo rag metallic? Do you want that silver kind of pearly look to your base of your image? And again, get that sample pack for that research phase. And if you forgot, we're right up at the top. All products, order the sample starter kit right there. Okay, you can add things to it if you need to check out like dye bond metals or the Chromalex metals. You can add that in there, and they do come with a $20 gift card. So that's what you want to do with what media you select. Do your research. And I mean, it's an extension of you. So whatever you are most comfortable presenting your work on, that's what's going to be right. Okay. And then some of you are like me, we're total people pleasers. We will give the customer whatever they want. They want it to be on a white paper, we're going to do it. They want it to shine, sparkle, we'll find that. They want it on plexi, we're going to do that. There's some of us who will accommodate to whatever the client asks for to get the print on. I just make sure to charge them of when I get it at my gallery. It's like I'm going to charge you for this. Pricing, and that's where we get into the charging part. When you first start selling your art, the guide that is helpful, unless you're popular overnight, is usually that 2.5 to 3 times the cost of your print. So if the print's $10, you want to sell your prints out there for $30, right? And that'll give you some money for you and some money to put back into getting more prints so that you can have your stockpile, because you can also buy from Finer Works in bulk. People always say, oh, I want to know if I'm buying in bulk. We put it on here for everybody to look at. If you go into our archival mats, hit prices and option, you'll see right by default it's set at 1. So an 8x10 right here, just to that is $8. If you're just buying a single one, or let's say 8 different images, they're all going to be at $8 because they're different images. But let's say you're getting 10 copies of that one image, right? You want it printed 10 times. Then you'll see that 8x10 comes down to $5.48. So it's on here to kind of at least start doing your pricing. That was another reason I liked Finer Works when I was doing the research. A lot of places, I had to do a lot of work to find some pricing. So I really liked that I was able to go on here. I could tell the artist I was working for after the research, this is what it is if we buy just one single one-off print, which is great for the drop shipping side. But because we do so many pop-ups and we do shows that we want to have prints at, I was able to say, look, we can get several of them at one time. It also helped me come up with wholesale pricing as well. And that is something that will help you, is kind of having that pricing structure down. um, let's see. I always make sure that the original art is not cheaper, because I've seen some people who have little prints and they get them out there, and then they uh, they have something that they're charging these smaller prints, and the originals. It would be cheaper for me to buy the original. I don't know why some people have done it, but I've seen it enough times to. I thought I would comment on it on this episode because it's something you really. I would keep that original as a higher price item over your prints, just always, you know. And again, you can use that, pricing your original with that $1 to $3 a square inch when you're first starting out. If you really don't know where you want to price this out, I say, keep a track of your time though, so that you kind of understand how much time you're putting into these pieces when you're doing your original pricing. But keep those prices higher than your prints. Like, let's see, when your prints are in high demand, you would look to hire maybe an assistant to run that portion of the business, the total up. And I would put that total of paying the assistant into the cost of my prints, because that's going to be some of where, so I might say, okay, my prints now, I'm bringing the prices up, or I'm keeping certain ones, like maybe I'm offering prints on, commercial paper. They're not going to last as long, but they'll be at that lower price point. But my prices on my prints are coming up because now I'm going to use that to kind of sustain a workplace. There, I get paid for my time working for Tatum as his assistant, doing all of these print projects. And if he had me putting in, time to do prints, then I'd be paid for that too. So that's where you make your money to do that. This is where you maybe say, this is where I get the assistant from, is off of your paper prints. You want something to start flowing in, um, that's going to be consistent and that's going to be sustainable. So that way you can have that, because there's going to be ups and downs in it. There's going to be months you're selling great, and then maybe Christmas time, either it goes up, or sometimes in our market like San Antonio, it's like art sales just go flat because everybody's rushing to Best Buy to go buy the latest TV for Christmas. So that's going to help you, or kind of having the prints. And again, prints are diversifying your arts. It's another thing coming in. At Art on Fifth, I found that, Gap was great at selling the art, paper, original art pieces and prints. We also did the custom framing there. And that kind of felt like, okay, great. We're able to bring in that many too, because we have people who are coming in to do during Christmas gifts, like wedding gowns, things along that line at Art on Fifth, because we have a certified framer over there, and she works with textiles and everything to get those. And Finer Works, we just work with your prints. You can order a frame to kind of put together stuff. Uh, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of doing spacers and doing the sewing of a textile thing into something for a presentation of a frame. But that is a different. I just want to show you a frame thing, because, like I said, this is where I learned from. One of the things that Finer Works is we Finer Works Art on Fifth, excuse me. Art on Fifth is a destination gallery because we carry the work of Ted Geisel, who many of y'all might know as Dr. Seuss. And of course, this is gonna kind of clunk out on me. Control minus, minus, minus. Okay. Let me see if I can get that back up here. I'm sorry. Don't. All right. Let me see. Okay. So this is his work. I'm going to try to zoom in so you can see the price on this. Okay. Todd framed this up. He has come up with this design for this particular Seuss piece. That subway piece is just like so iconic, and he carries the orange into the frame. So I'm going to get over here so you can see this price, if I can. I was able to get it earlier when I first started testing this out. I'm going to see if I still can. Okay, cancel. Wants to do a note. And I don't know if y'all can see that in there. I'm trying to bring it in. Let me see if I can do it this way. Nope, I can't. Let me pull it up over here on my phone so I can give you guys. When I was there this weekend, because it was the anniversary of the Dr. Seuss. Okay, so here we have the unframed price for just that print is going to be $20,000 and framed $21,000. So just getting to see that as a difference in the value. And like I said, that's not the original. Ted Geisel did have it to where none of his originals would be up for sale. They could only be in places of education like public libraries, um, places that children can learn from. Although there's some pieces that are not quite made for children. There So what his wife did, Audrey Geisel, was she contacted Chase Publishing, and Chase Publishing literally will get print houses that are going to close down. They're just going to be doing Seuss work, and there's a thing called a Seuss stretch for the canvas pieces. Um, and she wanted those close to what the originals look like. I'm going to see if I can bring up this other picture. And what was impressive is like she didn't want anything that was going to be like Snoopy kind of posters. She wanted something that would be um, art, and she wanted people to recognize him for his artistic ability. So they did. There's prints that are on artboard, and then we have paper prints as well, Jaclay prints that are in there. Um, so all of those are very valuable, and I think the series editions on these they vary. Some can be let me see if this one has a series edition on it that I can read. um let's I want to say some of them can be in the hundreds, like 150, 250. But you see what they're going for. And then not only that, their value, even as prints on a resale, usually goes up. So they are something what we would call even like investment art. Salvador Dali also has block prints that are out there. Same thing with his stuff. It can go up in value, even though it's a print, because being a surviving print, um, even if it's a big series, sometimes that becomes an issue later after an artist has passed. The estate or the artist has not preserved those prints very well, and surviving prints for that series may be limited. So that can increase its value. So things like that make the art special, and the pricing is there. So you can see that, like I said, that's on an extreme end, a print that is going for $20,000. All right. It's not there's nothing diminishing about a print. It's just how well you're going to set it up to have it there. Like again, archival, best craftsmanship on the color matching. You're going to spend that time in the color matching. You're going to work with your printer to get those color matches, because that is what is going to keep going even after you're gone. Your legacy would be that your descendants and stuff are able to have access to those images to continue to sell your art. And sometimes, like I said, an open edition uh, is a great way to kind of keep a price point for everybody. Um, let's see, when your prints are high in demand. Okay, we talked about that. Let me see. You want to remember? I was looking at costs just over the years of what we paid to get our images for Tatum captured. We have done anything from like a photographic print at $25 to a large format print that was a large format camera thing, which was $500. I have also found a few places in the country here in the U.S. that do flatbed printing from 4 foot by 6 foot. Now it isn't cheap. They're probably looking at $250 a scan, for something like that. But the detail that you're going to get, and I'm not sure if it's at a 1200 DPI. I think it actually is only at a 300 DPI, which is what you would need for an exact print for that size. But you have large format scanners that are available. Again, you might have to travel at that will add expense to it, right? Because you're not only now paying for the print, you're having to pay to transport the art. You have to pay maybe to stay the night. It's a lot of money if you're trying to get to that large format scanner. But those are some prices I kind of look at in us capturing our art. Tatum is a graphic designer, and so is his wife. I have a little bit of skills to kind of get in there and do things I need to do. So if you want to pay for that, you can learn it yourself, and it's free. But if you want to hire a graphic designer, you can look up at setups anywhere from $30 to maybe $200. What's great is they give you different files type. Like you'll get the PSD, you get it as a TIFF. They'll tell you this is like CMYK setup, and this one is a RGB setup. This one, they even, like for people who do silk screens, they may be doing the separations for you as well. So that graphic design, like I said, depending on what you're needing, you can look at anywhere from like 30 to $200 on an image. The cost of the prints, and if you have somebody who's an assistant who is listing them to different platforms. We kind of already went over this when I just went through the pricing on Finerworks when we're looking at the prints at $8. So for me, I put them here, the quantity of 1 and the quantity of 5. But when I'm doing pricing to decide what I'm going to put them up for, like on our website and in our shop, it'll be, I look at, this is $8. So if I say 3 times that, that's 27. I go look at the shipping costs. And if you need to find that on Finerworks, you just scroll down to the bottom and you're going to see shipping rates, turnaround times right there. Shipping rates. This one usually will be 8x10, will probably be about $5.95. Those are looking like available for small prints and cards. So about cards, about 5x7. We do some 8x10 cards. And that's usually about $5.95, I think, when I've done some mock-up ones on here. And I'll show you a mock-up in a bit. But I'll take that and I say, okay, $5.95 or so is what I'm thinking about for shipping. So I'm going to put it maybe at $8 so just to pad myself. And I will say $8 to the $27 there. So I have like about $35 is what I'm going to retail it at. And that way, I do it that way because I don't like to mess with shipping rates on our site. So it just says free shipping in the domestic US. And then I think we add, like, I can't remember if it was $10, I think is what we had for international shipping or whatever. In some cases, it's going to be a little more. Some cases, it's going to be a little less. But because I've kind of padded it here, I'm okay. And then when I do retailers or somebody sells it at $8, and if we're buying them, again, if I'm doing 10 and I'm getting them at $5, then I'm able to kind of, I don't make as much money, but I'm going to make a bulk of money on it. And it lets the retailers mark it up 3 times. And it's about what I sell it online too, so that my pricing is not lower than the galleries that are deciding, or wholesalers that are carrying us. And then I just look at the profits when they sell. Like I said, if I'm selling for myself, I make more. But if it has to go into a gallery, I'm going to lose some money. I'm not going to make as much. It's just, but it's, I have somebody there 24/7 at some of these shops that is selling, basically. They're always in, maybe it's the location that they're more in a tourist area, and I want more people to be familiar with my artist. So I'm like, well, I want him to get recognition outside of the city. So I might not be making as much on some of those retail costs, but I'm getting him seen by more people that are traveling to our city. So sometimes that's a good trade-off. And if you think of it as in promotion dollars, that where you're not making as much on the return of it, Think of it that way. You're getting that kind of promotion. Let me just double check to see if we have any questions coming in. Let's see. The sample pack is excellent. I got that, then ordered the same image on a selection of the papers I like. It was worth it. That decision is very personal. It really is, Elizabeth. Like I said, it's trying to pick your favorite flavor here. And Jean is like, if I print on watercolor paper, do you recommend that I ship using a cardboard back so that it ships flat and not rolled? This becomes, again, kind of back to that personal decision. Flat is going to be more expensive in shipping and has a higher likelihood of receiving a bend in it. Sending it rolled, the container is tougher. It's safer to travel in. There's some people who don't know how to work with a curl. I don't know why. That's like saying, if you wake up with your hair with one curl in it, the rest of your life is ruined. That one curl is there forever. Use a flat iron, it comes out. I receive all of my stuff. I prefer when I order from artists to get them in a tube, and I lay them out flat in a flat file with some bean bags till I get ready to go ahead and have them framed. And I've been framing forever, and I've taken things out of tubes that have been in tubes for 30 years. We know how a framer knows how to work with the curl, the memory curl of a print. So sometimes it's going to be mounted to frame. For me personally, I like tubes, but a lot of people want to try sending it flat. Now, here's the great thing. The great thing about Final Works, which is one reason I chose them when Tatum and I were going through a selection of looking at these. If anything gets there damaged in transit, you contact customer care at finalworks.com. You send an image of the damage, because usually your customer will say, here, it came in damaged. And you know what? Final Works, at their own cost, gets it out for your customer. And to me, that is amazing. So I really appreciated that, because I kept thinking, okay, when you start doing this for a long enough time, let's say we started out with a printer, an Epson printer at the office, and we we're printing them and rolling them and sending them out. And it was a higher overhead taking on that cost when things got out there damaged or somebody didn't like it. This has taken a lot of that off of us going through Final Work. So that has been a plus point for me. Can you talk a little bit about metal prints? Sure will. Actually, I'm going to get to that one too. That was the thing. I think you want to talk about the metal prints, which we're going to get on there, and there was the edition sizes. I'm coming up on that. Let me pop back over here. I think the other thing here, okay, are going to be incentives. And this is where I'm going to talk about some of these things. What other things can you do to make your print special? Okay, there's the one off, which is the artist proof. And if you work with silk screens and stuff, some people like that destroyed look, or it's just like this, I want to say, Mod Podge of different screens that I've done sometimes on a poster board just to kind of play around and play. And somebody has liked that because it has 3 different designs on it. So the artist proofs can sometimes be really valuable. And you can hold those on there. Limited edition series. Now, we were talking about this. Tatum likes to do this a lot. I really hate it. I really wish he didn't do it. He does them in series of 25. The thing about edition series is that you got to know the parameters, right? Like that means you cannot sell it again in that size, that image, that paper. You want to make sure that if you're going to do an edition series, it makes sense. And a smaller edition series, yes, you're able to assign more value at release, but then you better hold up your end of never releasing it again in that size and media. Some people have a hard time with that. And I think, and then keeping track of it too, which ones you've sold. I think it's best if you're going to do an edition size like 25 that you go ahead and buy all 25 up front. One, you get the bulk discount with Minor Works, but you're also ensuring that all of those colors are going to stay exactly the same. Um, the con of that is that you got to now put storage for those. You've got to make sure you have them in, an area that they're not going to get destroyed in. There's not going to be water damage, coffee mug damage, like people spill coffee on things. Um, so you're kind of limited in that. They're also not a good drop ship item. This would have to go again to you as an artist, and most of these are going to be something that you can't really do drop ship. They would have to be mailed from you as the artist directly. So like I said, limited edition set. I've seen the 25 with Dr. Seuss. I've seen the 150, 250s edition size, and then with Dolly, I've seen like, oh God, what was that one? If it was like a 1,300, it was something ridiculous. It was a very high number, but people translate that into worth. I would stick to 250 and under, because going higher, even in the 500s, depending again on where you are, there's that you're going to have to hold on to that rest of the inventory if you're not selling fast enough. But when you go too high, people think, oh well, that isn't enough. They're not as, it's just a misperception that it is not a good buy because there's that many in the world. But again, survivable prints. But I would stick under 250, 500 at the most, and that's if you're a very well known um, artist that's able to sell. Like if you're doing 10 orders a day in prints, a 500 series might be great if you want to go ahead and keep the price point low but high, higher than your prints would be, and you're going to sell that inventory. You're not going to be sitting on it. Um, I would weigh those things in, but like I said, 25 if is you can go ahead and put those up higher right now and say 25. But again, you need to make sure you are not re-releasing that print ever again like that, and sometimes that's limiting. So I don't suggest doing a low edition series like that unless it's going to be something maybe you painted for a charity and you're giving them like the original, and then from that, you're going to sell maybe 25 prints at a very marked up price in your normal prints. That might be something that you can go ahead and do. But again, just kind of weigh those kind of questions in your head. How long are you going to have to sit on the inventory? Are you moving that fast? And perception of the value of that thing. I like open edition series. It really doesn't matter. There's weird things in edition series. Like people have a lot of value on the number one, number two, number three of an edition. Um, I've never quite understood that, but it's because again, you want to know something funny is 1 through 5 could have gotten badly damaged and they're no longer really in circulation. So they're never going to get that. But so then that would make number 6 the first number of the edition. Uh, it's I say editions are very perceived, and it's just going to be how you're going to market that and how you're going to go ahead and create the value on the limited edition. But just stay very, I want to say, just stay very conscious of re-releasing them. Don't do that. Does changing the paper, let's go to here question really quick. Does changing the paper the art printed on count as a new edition? Technically it does. But it's kind of like etiquette. It's not a good practice. A lot of people don't like when people do that. Think of it this way. If you were at an auction and you were at one of 25 and it's maybe like a last surviving print, and you spent 100 million on it, whatever, and then lo and below, here comes this other prints that are going to be out, and it's going to be of that it's same size, different media. Where would you feel as a buyer on that? So sometimes it's etiquette wise on there. It's not always a good thing to do. I don't like selling them in galleries like that. When I've only run into it once, where somebody has brought us, like they dropped off all their prints at the gallery, and we were already kind of on good terms with them. We knew them, and I don't think he meant for us to get them, but we got them, so we knew that they existed, and it's something we are not comfortable doing. So I would I would not do that. I really would try to keep those, that if you're going to do that low edition number, try to keep things. The only thing I would say if you're going to do another media is size. Go size big, go size small, but that's where I would make the difference in, is just going ahead and not changing the media type. I would change the size. Okay. Let me keep going over here. Back here again. Okay, the other thing is artist signature, of course, which usually have in limited editions and artist proof. But you can have one, like I said, open edition with just your signature. That's something to make them special. Again, that's not something you could do as a drop ship item. You'd have to have those sent to you, and you would have to sign them and send them in as orders go. Another thing, too, is hand embellishment. And one person that we have that she's been on here is Mary Jean Runke. She orders, well, she's a local artist, so she is frequently at our shop picking up canvas prints, canvases and floater frames, and paper prints. And then if you go watch her, let me pull her up really quick, her Instagram, and you watch her do the painting on these. This is another thing I think that really helps her collector base know this, how special her prints are. And there she is. She'll do videos of doing hand embellishments. She videos her making the originals. Let me just pop one down to one of her paintings on paper that she's gotten done with us. So here you have her doing signing. That's an open edition, or is it a close? That one's a close, and you can see on here she's doing that 1 of 50 right there. So she's doing an edition size of 50 on these. Let me see here. Here you can see they're sleeved. Then she's got the canvas print of those, and that's in a floater frame. But she does these videos, and this is something I'm talking about later in posting, is she's able to show just how, beautifully these are done. Like I said, she launches a new product video to let people know those are there. And they have, again, diversifying your art. She's got paper prints, she's got canvas prints, she's got the canvas prints framed, ready to hang like that, because some people prefer a frame on their canvas. I like mine without. But she does also gold leaf onto her prints, which is a hand embellishment. I don't know if you can see it too well here. Maybe she shows where she's doing it. She'll add gold leaf onto some of her prints that I think is just a beautiful touch, like those. Let me see if we can find it here. But things like that you can do that add just a little more artist touch. There they are. Adding gold leaf to those prints, and it's going to take time. I would test it with that sample kit you got, any kind of embellishment you want to do. Just because we have never tested papers, and there's a variety of difference. It can be in your medias. You can have an oil base that is not going to work with that ink. So I would test those out on our sample kit for hand embellishment. But it's kind of a, an artist, try it out, see what works kind of thing. Because hand embellishment is something you want to test. And that part, we cannot say whether that, whether another media that y'all may use will last as long as a print. It may fade. It may cause fading in there because you've now put something new on there. And let me just, I want to try to keep checking. Like I said, I'm kind of running solo here, so I'm having to go back and forth to check the thing. Oops, sorry. Obviously, I can't. I like this. Okay, Karen, I just want to show this because it's funny. We got this one, got that. And then Karen let me know that, she was walking in. But I go, I think you did a good job. You got engagement while you were walking and talking there. So let me go back over here. Okay. The other thing, like we were just seeing in Mary Jean, is that framing option. Sometimes that's an extension of your artistic ability, how you put together into a frame. Now, I have some people that I have worked with that love this. Some people would think it's gaudy. It's like purple, it's ornate, it's got every color baby going in it, and they have that framed out. It's maybe a $300-400 frame that they're putting on this 16 by 20, but it is so beautiful. And it's just an extension, and you can make a markup on that framing. One, it's custom, cut for your size, and it might not be something that anybody's ever going to pair up, especially with your artwork. So sometimes going to an extreme level of going really ornate in the frames can be another reason to make your things more marketable. We have a customer who does geo galleries, and I've even bought one of her pieces. I told her the only thing I changed out, and then she updated her thing, was that I put reflection control plexi in it because that's just how I like my stuff, either museum glass or that reflection control. So when it's hung, it's displayed, I don't see glare. I just see the image. It's very beautiful. But and the frame price is high. It's a thick 3-inch molding for, I think it's a 5-inch image, but it's so pretty. And a lot of people I know, when they buy them on geo galleries, tend to buy them in sets of 3. They'll buy 3 different images, all with that same frame molding on there. But it's really gorgeous. And if you ever want to go into finer works and look at stuff like that, you would go into frames and maps. And you can hit frames here. I notice we got 4 more minutes. So I need to hurry and get into some things. And you can go through our rustic ornate and take a look at some of these different moldings on here and get the pricing. Other things that are great are the certificates of authenticity. Also, we offer those here at Fine Works, but you can totally make your own. We just do it again. It's just something off of your hands. It has this up front. You can upload the image, which will go to the center. It'll have its certificate number down here. And in the back, there is a chain of custody on there. I've had customers who really love that chain of custody backing. QR codes that lead them to your links. Sometimes I was talking to one person and I said, well, why don't we do this series of photography, and you have them in this like diptych looking frames here that have 5 images up there, 5 images down there. And then you could scan the QR code and it'll open to your Instagram account that has that reel of it in stop animation motion kind of photography. And that was an idea he never had thought of, that, that's just a great way to present that, to still have it as a print, but because it's stop motion photography, it lets people see it. It just adds another element to that piece. And for photographers, I want you to think, not just in prints, I want you to think of how you can make this almost as an art piece. Sometimes you can look at stacking metals, offsetting metals, and having to do that. There's different ways to do that. And we're going to talk about metal prints here in a second. QR codes. Okay, we went to that. They lead them to links. The other links they could have on there, you can just do your link tree. And you can have this QR code in the back of your art pieces, or somewhere where it is maybe something cute that you could have on the side, like they can put this as a nameplate, and their guests can go ahead and scan the QR code, and they're able to see your website, your Instagram, your YouTube, anything like that. So a link tree where they could see all of these different things. And if you don't know what a link tree is, let me see, oh, right here. You would just like here we have a link tree. Link tree just lets you have a kind of like a landing page sort of, and you're able to put all of your websites here, kind of like a bookmarker, but you can do things like that. You can have your link to your landing page to sign up for your newsletter. It's just something there else that you can have on there. Augmented reality was another thing that I have saw that people are really kind of going to, and I don't mean AI, augmented reality. This artist here out of Austin, I love her to death too. Mila Sketch. So you go look and that you see that piece like that, and she has an augmented reality app, and you download it from her website when you go to. This is at West Chelsea Contemporary on 6th Street in Austin, and you hold your phone to it after you've downloaded the app, and it shows them kind of bursting into color, or some things may be more animated and move across the screen on there. It's something to enjoy. It's a different aspect to your art. So that is something that you can also do just to kind of enhance it. Some people have you can also use that to do scaling. If you want to show your art so that it scales to a person's home so they can see if that fits well. That's what augmented reality would also do. Somebody was suggesting to me was My Web AR. It's no coding, and it looks like it works better on your desktop. Branding things that you can add into your stuff would be like small order volumes. Some people doodle on the tubes, which I think is so cute and I love it. Adding stickers and a thank you card to it. Those are great things to go ahead and just, again, brand yourself as an artist to your collector so that you're always top of mind, kind of in the heart sort of feel. Where to sell online, you can do geo galleries, Etsy, Shopify, Squarespace. We've done a couple of we did a video a couple of months back on different platforms, the Instagram DMs, or you can just take orders through email, simply like that. You can do it offline at pop-ups, conventions, fairs, tourist destination shops, partner with shops sometimes that sell high-end goods. There's an artist I know who pairs up with a Texas boot store in Congress in Austin. Those boots can be about 800 to 1,200 bucks. He did the design for the boot cover box, so his art is all over there, and people want to buy his art because they're so in love with the branding of it. And so these are people who are not going to argue the price. They will pay what the art is worth. So sometimes partnering up with a high-end store like that will work. The last thing you want to do is promote that you have these prints, using post, and you can do stuff where, print gear, like I'm trying to think of, like if your print's geared towards car enthusiasts, right? No pun intended, but maybe car enthusiast guys are the people that like your stuff there. They have them in their garages. There's all female garages that have their own kind of pinup art and stuff in there too. Sometimes going to follow those Instagram accounts and liking theirs and messaging on there and doing shout outs like, I was inspired by XYZ's Instagram. Those can help you kind of curate those followers over to your Instagram so that they like your work. Maybe be a guest on a vlog or like a show like this. So if you have anything there that you think is great that you can kind of contribute to other artists and photographers, talk to me. We can have you on one of the first Tuesdays. Also, your newsletter, which was our last show last month. What you can do is a new print drop, blast that out, but promote that those prints are there. I wanted to go really quick. You were asking about metal prints. So I'm just going to go really quick over there. If we go under all products, there's two different types of metal prints. There's our HD metal prints here, which is a Chromolux. And there is our dye bond metal, which is, let me see, I'm trying to get used to the new things places have been at. HD float frame. I think it's under specialty maybe. Slate snow. We have, here it is, signage. Okay. The reason it's under signage is because dye bond metal is UV printed. Okay. HD metal is dye bond not dye bond, sublimation printing. So that's the difference on these two right there. But if I like the HD metal. The dye bond metal looks a little brushed, like distressed metal. So if you're doing something photography or you want that contrast to show, the HD Chromolux metals tend to be the best options for that. Thank you for this. Was great. Okay, and I thank you so much for watching. And Leah, if you just let me know what you need on your questions on the pricing here for the HD metal. I'm going to go over just a little bit while I look at that. So you can go ahead and hit here to go see the pricing on these. So if you hit order now, you can either do a mock one, but I'm not going to go that way actually. Oops, sorry. If you go down all the way here, you're going to see some of our metals here. You'll see the white gloss. White gloss I like. That's my favorite because the white is already there as a base. So it lets all the colors kind of be true. It's not washed out by the metal. And this will give you all of our pricing information right there. Going on, what changes the pricing is going to be the backing you decide to choose on. And you can either click one of these and see it up bigger, or you go scroll back up the top. I like this option of the inset metal. It kind of makes it look like it floats. Plus the pieces I've done, I've kind of added like those lights that you would stick in a bottle, and it gives like a glow, and I'm able to fasten those pretty easy around and tuck the battery piece onto the top back there. So it makes a really nice little glow to my pieces that I use for, family prints and photos. But that's where you would find the pricing. Oh, and retail pricing. And with retail pricing, same thing. I would go look over here, seeing what I'm going to do. Like, for instance, the photographer that I am going to be working with, I would just use that 2 to 3 time thing. Same thing with the print. So like on here, pop back over. I like 11 by 14s with this inset metal thing right here. That's going to be $61 right there. And I didn't mean to hit it on there to work, but let me pop this back. I keep clicking on stuff. I am so sorry. So it's $61 for that inset metal float hanger. And for me, I might say that's a 10 by 14. Hold on. 65 right there for that particular one that I like. Okay, 11 by 14. And I would just put that as a retail of 3 times that price. So 3 times 65 on there. I'm sorry, my phone is jumping around here. 65 multiplied by, for me, I do 3 times. That'd be $195 for retail. And I don't think that is a crazy price either, because it's a really great quality item, and all that, and your art is worth that, because you're not only paying for the print, you're paying yourself for what you have done, the artwork you have done. So I think like 195 is a perfect time. Just 3 times the cost on the metals. Same thing. That's what I would do. Well, greatly. I thank y'all sticking around all night and doing this. I appreciate it. Get a chance, go to Finer Work, try out those canvas bags. Let me know how you guys like them. And if you have questions, if you're watching this on the replay, you can go ahead and put them on as a comment, or you can send them to me, melissa@finerworks.com. I'll be glad to help. I hope a lot of you put these into practice and start paying yourself what you guys are worth, because watching all of your work come through our printers is kind of like a really big highlight of my day. I love to walk past there and see what's coming out of the print. I enjoy all of your artworks. So thank you all for putting that out there. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys next month. Bye.